Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some significant news. King Charles cuts off Camilla from the Queen Consort title. In unprecedented palace showdown, King Charles III has executed a move that has sent shockwaves across the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. He has taken the extraordinary and historic action of stripping his wife Camilla of her title as Queen Consort. This decision has sent shockwaves throughout the Commonwealth. Buckingham Palace was the location of the emergency meeting that took place during which the decision was reached. The specifics of the meeting are now starting to surface, creating a picture of a monarchy that is at war with itself. The House of Windsor has been thrown into its most severe crisis since the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, as a result of the news which was just released a few hours ago. The King's decision was the culmination of months of rising tensions, claims of political overreach, and a covert agenda by Camilla that endangered the very stability of the crown, according to many insiders within the palace. The decision was made by the King. At a late hour this evening, Buckingham Palace issued a statement that was brief but profound in its announcement. It was written as follows: His Majesty the King has directed that the title of Queen Consort will no longer be used by his wife Camilla following a meeting featuring senior members of the royal family and key advisors. Additionally, additional information about her future function and title will be revealed at the appropriate time. A request for seclusion has been made by the royal family at this trying time. The statement, which was meticulously crafted, belies the raw and savage character of the events that took place beyond the golden doors of the palace. What was supposed to be a private reckoning has suddenly burst into a public spectacle, leaving a country astonished and an institution that has been there for 1,000 years, confronting something that is unclear about its future. An emergency meeting that is not a discussion, but rather a decision today in the afternoon. The situation reached its highest point. There were no prior warnings, no event on the royal schedule, and no press corps that had been informed beforehand. In its place, an unexpected and urgent call was sent out. An invitation was sent to senior members of the royal family, including the Princess Royal Anne and the Prince of Wales William, to attend a secret chamber inside Buckingham Palace. It was stated that key officials from the King's household and top constitutional advisors were removed from their positions, and their reactions were a combination of perplexity and profound anxiety. After speaking to reporters on the condition of anonymity, a senior aide said that the hurry was the first indication that this was not a typical affair. Guards were stationed at the beginning and the end of each hallway. There was a confiscation of phones at the entrance. Even if we have before dealt with scandals and catastrophes, the mood that prevailed today was different. At that moment, it seemed like a constitutional turning point. Witnesses have said that Camilla approached the room with an air of collected assurance before she entered. Due to the fact that she had endured decades of public scrutiny and media ridicule, she had garnered a reputation for being resilient. She thought that this was just another obstacle that she and Charles would have to overcome together, a unified front against the forces that came from the outside. She made a horrible error of judgment. The temperature was low, and the features of people she thought would be her supporters seemed to be stone masks that were impossible to read. The usual respect had vanished, and in its stead came a deafening stillness that was filled with anticipation. Ignoring the fact that the decision had already been made was something she was unaware of. According to one account, King Charles did not spend time on niceties. He was characterized as visibly trembling but resolute. Without adhering to any royal procedure, he unilaterally took charge of the meeting with an authority that very few people had ever seen him exercise before. He had a strained voice, yet it was piercing and steadfast with conviction. It was also stated by the source that his authority was absolute. There was no argument that could be had. A negotiation did not take place here. It must have been a proclamation. Every single one of the king's statements was written with a terrifying finality, and they were all purposeful. His words emphasized the importance of responsibility legacy and the sacred trust that exists between the monarch and the people. From that point on, he shifted his attention to Camilla. The phrase, Queen Consort, was said by him, but not in the honorific sense. Rather, it was portrayed as an accusation. His voice was reported as being filled with anger and rage, and he went into detail about a string of betrayals that had left him with no other option. He said, "The title comes to an end today," and the words shattered the strained stillness that had been there in the room before. Almost immediately, the response took place. There were loud gasps. The advisors shuffled in an uneasy manner, their gazes remaining fixated on the ground. The composure that Camilla had eventually disintegrated. It was stated that her face, which had previously been a picture of serenity, became pale, and her eyes widened in a combination of amazement and dread as she came to the realization that the crown she had battled so long and hard to obtain was being taken away from her in an irreversible manner. It was Princess Anne who broke the intolerable hush that had arisen after the last silence. The tone of her voice was serene, but it bore the weight of a definitive judgment. She had been a pillar of stoic duty for her whole life. Camilla's destiny was decided by her 2 words, which confirmed the family's united attitude and sealed Camilla's fate. "It's time," she said. Sitting next to his father, Prince William maintained his silence. His jaw set, and his look conveyed a bleak and angry validation of his position. As the conference came to an end, the course of history had been altered. Camilla's alleged overreach was the subject of rumors that eventually became a roar. The dramatic measure taken by the king was not the result of a single infraction. Rather, it was the result of a slow-burning fire that had been destroying the foundations of his rule. A pattern of conduct from Camilla that went much beyond the ceremonial duties of a consort had been detailed in carefully written memos and intelligence reports that had been circulating around the king's most trusted advisors for a period of many months. There were some hints of royal patronages that looked to favor her own interests, and there was an extraordinary amount of engagement in the arranging of foreign state visits. These were the first reports which were not very explicit. Nevertheless, these rumors quickly developed into more solid charges of meddling in topics pertaining to governance before long. The Queen Consort started to recognize her function as a co-monarchy, according to a statement made by a former officer of the palace. She was no longer happy with being a spouse who provided support. She was active in the process of policy analysis. Her voice was becoming more and more prominent in regions where royal neutrality is not only expected but essential for survival, she said. As the claims became more serious, Camilla had reportedly attended a number of off-the-books meetings with members of Parliament and powerful persons in the City of London, according to several sources who validated this information. According to the allegations, these talks were conducted without the king's knowledge and went beyond official channels. There were rumors going around that agreements were being made and promises of royal access were being made, which meant that the constitutionally protected boundary between the government and the monarchy was being blurred. A constitutional historian by the name of Dr. Alistair Finch made the observation that, for centuries, the monarchy has survived by remaining above the political fray. It is not only a scandal if there is any allegation that a member of the royal family, especially a consort, is involved in political maneuvering behind the scenes. It is a direct danger to the legitimacy of the institution. In the beginning, King Charles disregarded the warnings as nothing more than court gossip, which was the result of internal disputes. On the other hand, the proof which had been painstakingly assembled by his top staff became indisputable. Being tormented by the notion that the monarchy was sliding away from his grasp and being surreptitiously altered by his own wife was a source of great distress. The specter of Diana, along with the princess of the people, a very emotional and public wound that refused to heal. This wound was the lingering memory of Diana, Princess of Wales, which added to the political turmoil that was already plaguing the country. In spite of the passage of a great number of years, Camilla was never able to escape her shadow. From the perspective of a sizable segment of the British populace, Diana continued to be the one and only legitimate queen, whereas Camilla was seen as a usurper. This emotion was not only a remnant of the past, rather it was a powerful force that existed in the current day. The applause that was directed at Catherine, the Princess of Wales, at public engagements was so loud that it routinely drowned out any notice of Camilla. Each and every snapshot, as well as each and every common feature, prompted a harsh comparison. Catherine was seen by the public and the media as the personification of contemporary royal dignity, elegance, and optimism. She was being portrayed as a spiritual successor to Diana. Throughout the course of this story, Camilla was presented as an impediment, a character who kept clinging to a title that was never really hers. A significant amount of strategic anxiety was generated for the palace as a result of the disparity. An individual who works as a public relations consultant and has connections to the royal family indicated that the optics were getting beyond repair. You had Catherine's popularity skyrocketing to heights that had never been seen before, while Camilla's presence seemed to deliberately bring down the approval ratings of the monarchy. It caused a split in the visual image. The people had come together to choose their queen, and it was not the one who was standing next to the king. Diana's supporters used this public opinion as a weapon against her family. The petitions that demanded Catherine be given priority in all affairs pertaining to the state received signatures from hundreds of thousands of interested people. It was revealed that old letters and interviews with Diana had been rediscovered, which rekindled popular compassion and brought to the forefront a pledge that Charles had made in the past to safeguard Diana's legacy. There was an intolerable amount of pressure on the king. It was impossible for him to choose between his obligation to the crown and his commitment to his wife. Reportedly, his own family was the source of this internal turmoil that he was experiencing. It is reported that Princess Anne, who is known for her pragmatic nature, reminded her brother of the primary responsibility of the monarchy, which is to serve the people. The future of the crown, which Prince William would one day inherit, was being put in jeopardy, and Prince William informed his father of this fact in discussions that were quiet but stern. It was his contention that the memory of his mother was inextricably related to the well-being of the monarchy itself. The final straw, a covert plan for the establishment of a new dynasty. Despite the fact that Camilla's position had been damaged due to political errors and public opinion, it was the uncovering of what her aides have referred to as her secret agenda that eventually pushed the king to take corrective action. Information of Camilla's organized drive to gain titles power and financial stability for her own bloodline was included in a dossier of information that was handed to Charles in a briefing that took place behind closed doors. A staggering ambition was exposed by the papers, which included private communications, financial records, and sworn testimony from employees of the palace. It was Camilla's relentless attempts to fight for her son, Tom Parker Bowles, and her daughter, Laura Lopes, to be accorded official duties and titles that are traditionally reserved for blood royals that were at the center of the discoveries. According to a person who had first-hand knowledge of the records, this went far beyond maternal concern. To thread the Parker Bowles family into the fabric of the monarchy was the goal of this deliberate endeavor to construct a parallel dynasty, which was a strategic undertaking. Her son was proposed to be granted ownership of some royal domains, while her daughter was proposed to receive ceremonial honors that would put her on a level that would be almost equivalent to that of the king's own nieces. Camilla had used her power to have papers presented before the king for his signing disguised as regular paperwork. This was the most compelling evidence that suggested that Camilla had done this by using her influence. The authorization of appointments and privileges for her family was granted by these papers, which Charles would never have given his approval for if he had fully comprehended the implications of the agreements. One of his assistants described him as incandescent with rage and utterly broken when he came to the conclusion that his own authority had been undermined and that his signature had been used as a weapon in a strategy about which he had only a limited amount of information. In the same vein, the finance arrangements were quite concerning. During the course of the inquiry, it was discovered that in order to circumvent the customary royal monitoring, cash and assets were being transferred and placed into trusts for her children. The image that was drawn was of a queen consort who was not only intent on basking in the symbolic power of the crown, but also on using its riches and influence for the purpose of elevating her own family to a position of permanent prominence. Prince William's response to these disclosures was characterized as explosive. For him, this was the most significant act of treachery that could have occurred. According to reports, William made the accusation that Camilla was making an effort to completely eradicate his mother's history by replacing the Windsor bloodline with her own. As a result of his rage, the family became united, and King Charles was left with little space for maneuver. It was no longer a decision between his wife and his duty. Rather, it was a choice between the continuation of the monarchy and the aspirations of a single woman. A kingdom in disarray as a result of the aftermath. As soon as the news became public, the notion of a unified monarchy was completely destroyed. It is reported that Camilla is now in a state of isolation inside the palace, as she is overcome by what she considers to be the ultimate betrayal. She is utterly heartbroken, as said by a person close to her. Being publicly humiliated in this manner is a cruel act that she never imagined, she said, after decades of devoted service and personal sacrifice. The country is deeply divided, and it can be seen from beyond the royal gates. The decision made by the king has been hailed as long overdue justice by Diana's admirers, who have claimed triumph on social media and in public forums. A remark that received a lot of attention said, "The spirit of Diana has at long last been laid to rest. Vengeance has been taken against the true queen." Despite this, Camilla's fans are just as loud, despite the fact that they are fewer in number. The decision is condemned by them as a cold and deliberate act of political expediency, and they accuse the king for sacrificing his wife in order to please public opinion and protect his own shaky reign. There is a voracious thirst among the press that has fallen. "Queen no more," is screamed in the headlines. There are unending loops of analysis being shown on news networks with royal specialists, historians, and former aides scrutinizing every aspect of the problem, and the War of the Windsors, of the High A. As a result of the choice, King Charles is now finding himself in a position of extreme solitude. However, at the same time that he is being lauded as a brave monarch, he is also being criticized for being a feeble and cruel spouse. His reign is not characterized by the harmony he promised, but rather by the divide he has wrenched out of the people. The crown that he battled to safeguard now seems heavier than it ever has before. The Prince and Princess of Wales, on the other hand, have emerged from the crisis with their reputations much stronger than before. At this point in time, William and Catherine are generally recognized as the stabilizing influence that the monarchy so sorely needs. They stand for a future that is free from the scandals that have occurred in the past. Despite the fact that they have not issued a public remark, their respectful quiet has done a great deal of talking. The people have come together in support of them because they see in them the potential for a monarchy that is more stable and approachable. An erasure that has never been seen before. Rewriting history. Following the decision, the royal household has started the difficult and unusual work of removing a queen consort from its current reality. This is a task that has never been done before. Implementation of the formal edict, which was signed by the king, is being carried out with great care. The removal of Camilla's title from all official websites, papers, and royal charters has already begun once the work has already begun. Portraits portraying her as Queen Consort, which were debuted with much pomp and circumstance just a few short months ago, are now being removed from the walls of royal houses in a stealthy manner. Her cipher, which has the letters CR for Camilla Regina, will be taken out of official usage. It is a public execution executed in pen and parchment, a methodical wiping of her memory from the institution that she temporarily governed. Those who specialize in constitutional law are frantically trying to make sense of the action. What Dr. Finch had to say was that there is no contemporary example of this. If you were to withdraw a title that was conferred at accession and you did so to your own spouse, you would be venturing into ground that has never been explored before. From a legal standpoint, she continues to be the king's wife. Nevertheless, her public and constitutional position has been completely eradicated. It is possible that her last public appearance was the cruelest act in this royal play which led to its conclusion. Immediately before the dissemination of the news, Camilla made her appearance on the balcony of Buckingham Palace with the king. Even though there were already rumors going around, the audience was noticeably quiet. Her wave was tentative, and her grin seemed to be forced. The event was not one of victory, but rather a solemn and public goodbye. It was a queen being shown to her people for the very last time before being banished from the region. The dust is beginning to settle, and one thing is becoming abundantly clear: the monarchy of the United Kingdom has been irreparably transformed. It is possible that King Charles took action in order to defend the crown. Nevertheless, by doing so, he has revealed the profound cracks that exist within his own family as well as across his realm. There is a great deal of danger on the way forward. The future of Camilla is still a dangerously uncertain unknown. If she fights back, she would further destabilize a throne that is already on a fragile foundation. Will she fall into silent obscurity, or will she fight back? It's possible that a new battle of succession is already in the works, and it's not for the throne itself. Rather, it's for the very essence of the monarchy. This conflict is a struggle between the old guard and the young guard, between the specters of the past and the aspirations for the life to come. The action that King Charles III has taken is a desperate attempt to ensure that his legacy will be preserved. In spite of this, it is possible that he has just shown how brittle his own crown has become by removing one of them. It is only now that the concluding chapter of this royal story has started to unfold. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.